In this video, we're going to show you how to install the brake caliper and bracket on your Ford Focus located behind your front wheels. Using a 19mm socket, we're going to loosen and remove the lug nuts. Remove the wheel and set it aside. Now we have a caliper and bracket right here on our bench, and we want to go ahead and separate the bracket from the caliper. 14mm bolts, there's one here and one on the other side. Loosen and remove these. Good, take the caliper, set it aside. I want to go ahead and prep the bracket itself. I want to go ahead and remove our slide pins first. I'm going to grab that rubber boot, grab that pin, twist it, and rotate it out. You can see there's not a lot of grease on the pin itself. It's more collected on the end. You can go ahead and pull it off there and smear it on there. Now you just want a thin coat. Now that's actually pretty sufficient for the pin itself. We can go ahead and slide this back in, pull back on the boot, work this in, and press it on until the boot seals. Do the same for the other side. Now for any reason, if there is insufficient amount of grease on the inside here, I want to go ahead and use some silicone paste and add some. Now remember, it's a thin amount. Just a thin coating on there. If you add too much grease on here, it'll actually hydrolock inside here with that rubber boot, and it's going to naturally want to push that pin out, and you do not want that. Go ahead and take that bracket, stand it up. And we're going to take some silicone paste, and we're going to put it right here and here. Now, once again, we want a thin coat. So go ahead and take your glove and smear that and wipe off the excess. And at this point here, go ahead and take the slides here, line that up, and push that on. You do want to make sure that those are fully seated. So if you turn it to the side, you want to make sure that those are all the way down and on. All right, that's as far as it's going to go. Perfect. I'll go ahead and flip this over. And we're going to do the same on this side here. All right, our caliper bracket is ready for installation. With the wheel removed, go ahead and crank that knuckle and suspension outward, giving us access here. 10mm bolt. When you disconnect this, brake fluid is going to leak out, so have a catch can or a bucket ready to go. When you remove that banjo bolt, there's going to be a copper washer on the bolt side, and there's going to be one on the other side of the block here. We're not going to be reusing any of these. Go ahead and pop this off. Make sure that other copper washer comes off. Grab the new banjo bolt. Make sure there's a new copper washer on it. Put that through. Grab the other new copper washer, install it on the other side of that banjo bolt. Grab your caliper. I want to go ahead and line this up. I want to gently snug this down. What I'm going to do is swing this up and over. Let's now go ahead and remove our brake caliper and bracket assembly. We're going to remove the caliper first. Using a 14mm socket, we're going to go ahead and loosen and remove the bolts. We have one on the top right here. Get that lower one here. Take out that lower bolt. Remove the upper. I'm going to go ahead and grab a flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to go between the caliper and the bracket. Start to work that off. There we go. We now go ahead and remove our brake pad assemblies. Now when we're removing this here, you want to pay attention. Our outboard pad has a squeak tab on it, and it's located on the top of the outboard pad. Go ahead and set those aside. Here and here are the two bolts for our caliper bracket. Your factory bolts would be a 14mm. Loosen and remove these bolts. Now when you remove the caliper bracket, the brake rotor will be free floating. You want to be careful that that does not fall off. Now at this point here, you want to go ahead and inspect here, make sure it's nice and clean and ready for the new component to go on. Grab your caliper bracket. Slide this in. Go ahead and get that bolt in there. And then we'll get the lower bolt started. Let's go ahead and snug these bolts down. Let's torque down these two bolts to 92 foot-pounds. Let's go ahead and install your brake pads. All right, now that we have our inboard pad installed, gonna do the same for the outboard. Don't forget, squeak tab goes outside and up. Now that we have both of our brake pads in, go ahead and swing our caliper over and in a position. Get our upper bolt started. Just going to get our lower bolt started. Going to go ahead and gently snug these down. Torque down these bolts to 21 foot-pounds. Now let's go ahead and torque down our bolt here. This needs to torque down to 35 foot-pounds. Now at this point here, go ahead and use some spray solvent. And just rinse off any of that residual brake fluid that might have run out. Now right here is your bleeder cap. We're going to go ahead and pop this off. If your vehicle does not have this, it is not critical to the operation of the vehicle. All right, then we're going to use our 10mm box wrench here. You can use an open end if you want. We're going to go ahead and crack this open. By opening this up, it's going to allow the brake fluid to come through the flex hose and fill up the backside of the piston area here on your brake caliper. We're going to purge out any air that is in the system. This is considered a gravity bleed. You can see we have a steady stream of fluid coming out. We're going to let this drip for a little bit and check for any air bubbles that come out. All right, everything looks good here, so let's go ahead and close this up. Snug that down. Go ahead and use some spray solvent to clean up any of that residual brake fluid. Go ahead and install the rubber cap here. Now at this point here, you can go ahead and repeat this process for the passenger side. At that point there, we want to go ahead and top off the brake fluid underneath the hood. Hop into the vehicle. You want to pump up the brakes. Make sure that that brake pedal is nice and firm. It could take 3 to 4 pumps to get that brake pedal to be nice and firm. At that point there, you can go ahead and install your wheels and go for a road test. And take your wheel, line it up on the wheel studs, and let's go ahead and get the lug nuts started. I'm going to start them all by hand, and then we'll come on back and snug them down. When snugging these down, it's ideal to do them in a crisscross pattern. Let's go ahead and torque down our lug nuts to 94 foot-pounds. And ideally, you want to do this in a crisscross pattern. And there you have it. I'm going to start by spraying down the master cylinder. I want to make sure that this is clean before we open up the reservoir. We don't want any debris to fall down inside. I'm going to open up the reservoir. Set that off to the side. Then we're going to use an evacuation tool. You can use something like a turkey baster if you have something like that. And we want to pull out as much of that brake fluid as possible. Sometimes you can get quite a bit out, and other times you can get a minimal amount. But either way, you want to go ahead and pull that fluid out as much as you can. Have a container set aside. You can go ahead and put that fluid. I'm going to continue this process until we have out as much as possible. Now at this point, we have out as much as we can get. We are going to remove our container here and get that out of the way so we don't spill it anywhere. Now I want to go ahead and fill up our reservoir with appropriate brake fluid recommended. And on this here, the container tells us it's DOT3. So you want to go ahead and check it. It could be on here or it could be on the lid itself. So we're going to top up our reservoir, fill it up with some fresh fluid, and we get to that full mark. And add a little bit more to get there. Right, now that we're at the max line, I'm going to go ahead and install our lid here. Now here we are ready to perform our brake bleeding process. And what we're going to do is we're going to start at the right rear wheel, which is the passenger side rear wheel. Then we're going to proceed over to the left rear, which is the driver's side rear. Then we're going to proceed over to the right front and end at the left front. Now we have some assistance. We have someone inside the vehicle that's going to be pumping up our brake pedal for us. And what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and open up this brake bleeder screw. I'm going to start by pulling off this little rubber cap here. If you don't have this rubber cap, it's not critical to the operation of the brakes. However, if you have it, you definitely need to remove it to do this process. Now what we're going to do is going to have that person inside the vehicle pump up the brakes about 4 to 5 times and hold pressure.
Holding.
While they're holding pressure, we're going to go ahead and pop this little container here on here to hold or maintain fluid. It's going to capture this fluid. And we're going to go ahead and open this up. Now inside the vehicle, the brake pedal is going to go to the floor, and then we'll go ahead and close this. And we're going to do this multiple times. What we're looking to do is capture or release any air that is in the system, and we want a solid, steady stream of brake fluid to come through our line. All right, go ahead and pump it up.
Holding. Floor.
Okay. And we're going to continue this process until we have that solid stream of fluid. Continue, please.
Holding. Floor.
Go ahead, pump it up.
Holding.
All right, at this point here, we are getting a good solid stream of fluid. We're going to do this one more time, and then we're going to proceed over and do the same process on the driver's side rear wheel. Go ahead.
Holding.
All right, we'll snug this down. I want to go ahead and relieve our drainage hose here. Now, if you have some spray solvent, you want to go ahead and give this a quick little spray. Clean up the brake fluid, as brake fluid is corrosive, so you want to make sure you clean it up the best you can. And if you have that rubber cap, go ahead and pop that onto that bleeder screw. Now that we've bled the 2 rear wheels, let's go ahead up to the master cylinder and top that off. And then we're going to continue with the right front wheel and then end with the left front. And then we're going to come back and top off the reservoir again. Let's go ahead and open up our reservoir. And let's go ahead and fill this up. Once it's filled up, go ahead and install this. Now here we are over at the right front. This is a 3rd wheel that we're doing. We want to go ahead and use our 10mm wrench right here. I'm going to place our port for our container on there. I'm going to go have the person inside pump up the brakes and hold it.
Holding.
Let's go ahead and crack this open. Okay, pump it up.
Holding.
Pump it up.
Holding.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this up. Remove our hose. Spray it down with some spray solvent. Clean that up. Now, if you have the rubber cap, go ahead and install that now. I'm going to go ahead and proceed and end with the left front wheel. Let's go ahead and open up our reservoir. And let's go ahead and fill this up. Once it's filled up, go ahead and install this.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.